Welcome. As we're waiting for more folks to come in, here's some announcement pages.
Hi.
This week is Interfaith Awareness Week, and both the Rossmore Interfaith Council Big Questions Forum and myself had presentations that are now on our YouTube page if you want to look at those. This Sunday afternoon is our in-person, the Sunday afternoon is our interfaith field trip to the Livermore Hindu Temple, and it's now from 3 to 5 p.m. instead of 4 to 6. And the address is there in your agenda as well. There's a copy of the agenda in the chat room if you can't find it. There's a Meaningful Monday program is going to be the Monday after Labor Day. And our next meeting in September will be in person or hybrid. So if you want to be in person, you can be in the Hillcrest UCC Fellowship Hall, or if you want to be on Zoom, you can do it that way. And of course, we'll have an Interfaith Day of Peace program on the 21st.
That's great.
Father Tom's going to tell us a little bit more about the Nurturing the Beloved Community Retreat. This is the last one of our 2-year cycle with this theme, and he'll be giving us kind of the wrap up and interfaith answers to a lot of that. And then our annual meeting, October 23rd. And you'll hear more about how we postponed our August fundraising dinner to November 6th, both for COVID reasons and wanting to make sure that more folks could attend. It's now going to be at Mount Diablo UU Church, and we'll make sure that we're spaced and outside and all of those other good things to make sure that it's a good event for all. Lead us on.
Excellent.
Moderator Christine.
Okay. Well, first of all, welcome to everyone. So glad for everyone who could make it. And this should be a very good meeting. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes from the June 9th meeting, and those are attached to your agenda. And so if I could see a show of hands of who approves the minutes from June 9th. Anyone not approve them? Okay, so they stand approved. Excellent. Will, can you do our land acknowledgement?
Of course. I'm trying to let someone in at the same time, and it's a little hard, but let me see what I can do here. As Interfaith Councils, we understand land acknowledgements as a transformative act meant to confront our place on native lands. And sometimes the natives are restless here. My little guy that wants to be with us this morning. Sorry about that. To confront our place on native lands and to build mindfulness of our present participation in colonial legacies. We recognize that the cultural heritage of California begins no less than 23,000 years ago, and that the entire Bay Area rests on evidence of indigenous cultures. The pre-contact indigenous population of California was one of the largest and most diverse in the Western Hemisphere, and spoke over 300 Native American dialects and as many as 90 languages. Today, there are approximately 9 indigenous dialects spoken in the Bay Area, and California is home to more people of Native American and Alaskan Native heritage than any other state in the country. There are currently over 100 federally recognized Native American tribes in California, and even more communities and tribal groups, including the Ohlone, who are not currently federally recognized but are seeking that even right now. California has the highest Native American population in the country, and Los Angeles and San Francisco have 2 of the largest urban Native American populations in the United States.
And we will now have the reading of the covenant. In solidarity with one another, we each affirm.
Let me get it pulled up here for you.
Thank you.
Should I start?
Sure.
Our dialogue is an interfaith dialogue. We all have different communication styles and varying views. We commit to be in dialogue with respect for all, expanding listening to hear multiple points of view.
And if you could do the next paragraph too.
Okay, we realize that we are responsible for the growth of I4C, and each of us shares a duty to interfaith growth. The governing board provides leadership, and the elected council works towards progress and the fulfillment of I4C goals as we grow.
We recognize that we are imbued with interfaith responsibility. As such, we commit to hold ourselves and each other accountable to merit that trust, respect for the diverse traditions, beliefs, and spiritual paths of all those we encounter, hold ourselves to the highest ethical standards, and accountable to our communities and to I4C. Our shared time together is interfaith time. We commit to honoring the start and end times each time we meet.
Thank you. And we will now have a faith reflection from Carolyn Peters of Christ the King Parish. Carolyn, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you. Reverend Will asked if I'd say something about Mary of Magdala, since it was her feast day, July 22nd. And the background of Mary is such that the Gospels account of her as a close follower of Jesus and present at his crucifixion and resurrection. She's honored in Eastern Catholic churches, Eastern Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox, Anglican, Lutheran, and other Protestant churches, and the Baha'i faith. And then Will asked if I'd say something about how someone is canonized and designated as a saint. For one to be a saint, there is a three-step process. One, a local bishop inspects a candidate's life in search of their virtue. And two, the candidate's life is evaluated by a panel of theologians and cardinals of the Congregation of Cause of Saints. Three, upon approval of the panel, the Pope declares the candidate as venerable. Four, beatification is the next step, allowing the person to be honored in other regions and by other groups. It must be proven, however, that the person has performed a miracle after their passing. And the fifth step, in order to be deemed a saint, they must be responsible for another miracle. Then they are canonized. Mary didn't go through that process. She was one of the followers of Jesus from the very beginning. In 2016, Pope Francis raised the level of liturgical memory on July 22nd from a memorial of her life to a feast celebration of her life, affirming her to be apostle to the apostles. It was in this elevation that she was conferred as saint, a designation not given her prior to that date. Well, what is Mary of Magdala to me? She's the embodiment of the new Eve with Christ as a new Adam. She is the personification of both men and women as this new Eve figure with Christ in the new creation. My prayer, that we may see our God in our greatest moments of loss, that we may see our God in our greatest moments of joy, and that we may share our moments of deep spiritual discovery as Mary did with our brothers and sisters. Amen.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you. And Will, with our community prayer.
I just want to lift up that Carolyn McKenzie, our former president, is a part of the Voices for a World Free of Nuclear Weapons with the United Religions Initiative, and she forwarded this. I had seen it as it had come through many of the emails from URI, but because August 6th is the remembrance of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it's important for us as Americans to be a part of this prayer as well. And if you want to stay muted or if you want to say it together with me out loud, you're welcome to. A nuclear prayer. The beginning and the end are in your hands, O Creator of the universe. And in our hands you have placed the fate of this planet. We who are tested by having both creative and destructive power in our free will turn to you in sober fear and in intoxicating hope. We ask for your guidance and to share in your imagination in our deliberations about the use of nuclear force. Help us to lift the fog of atomic darkness that hovers so pervasively over the earth, your earth, so that soon all eyes may see life magnified in your pure light. Bless all of us who wait today for your presence and who dedicate ourselves to achieve your intended peace and rightful equilibrium on earth. In the name of all that is holy and all that is hoped. Amen. And I just add my own prayer that the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, because it involves so many other nuclear powers, that peace may prevail in the hearts of all of our leaders around the world this day.
Amen. Father Tom, would you like to give us a preview of the October retreat?
I'll take myself off mute. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you. Well, first of all, I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to share this retreat with you, and I hope that we can assemble. As you know, for the past 25 years, I've been deeply involved in interspiritual work. I thought it might be good for me to reflect back on that. What's happening here at the Interfaith Peace Project is that we are looking back over the 25 years to see what it is that we have discovered. So it's one thing for us to come together as representatives from the different traditions from which we come. But I would like to explore, as we talk about nurturing the beloved community, as we have met each other in our uniqueness from the different communities that we come from, what implications flow from that in terms of our relationships to one another, the way we might even reformulate our own traditional beliefs, and the way we might live our own particular lives. If I meet you, there's something about you that touches my mind, heart, and soul in such a way that I don't simply have information about you, but an experience of you that changes and blesses my life. I call that interfaith or interpath project, or interpath practice, whenever two people meet. Traditions can't meet. Systems can't meet. Philosophies can't meet. Religions can't dialogue. Only people can. So in this retreat, I thought it would be good to share some of the principles, if you will, that I have discovered, or we have discovered, as we look back over what it is to be people practicing ecumenism and interfaith respect and dialogue. How does that contribute to the rest of the world, to the whole world, in nurturing the beloved community? So I'll do that through presentation, an opportunity to reflect, an opportunity to share, and hopefully to continue to be amazed by the presence, the beauty, the splendor, and the wisdom of one another. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Father Tom, and we are really looking forward to that retreat, so we appreciate that. Now I am the person who is going to be talking a little bit about my group, and that is the development group. And the first thing that occurs to me is, what do we really mean by development? So I looked it up, and we take it for granted, but what does it mean? Evolution, growth, maturing, expansion, enlargement, spread. And what is the way that we accomplish that? Well, the first way is up to all of us, that as we said in the covenant, we are the ones responsible for passing the word about I4C, about inviting people to a meeting. I think that'll be especially good for, hopefully we will be able to have the hybrid meeting on September 8th, our next meeting, and getting together in person, which would be wonderful. But again, the idea is to share, first of all, with your own communities. And second of all, if you have communities around you that are maybe not currently members, to let them know about it, and maybe to ask for a representative from one of those communities to attend one of our meetings. That's actually how I came to I4C. So keep it in mind. Now, the idea of development inevitably leads to the question of fundraising, because to accomplish all this, we have to be able to have funds. And now fundraising is not a word to be avoided. After all, the great work that is accomplished by I4C through all of us and our communities working together in an interfaith mode would not be possible without the means to have a staff, an executive director, communications, and organization. Our list of accomplishments is long and growing, and I'm just going to mention a few of them here. Winter Nights has now grown to a point where they are on their own. I Care, through which our communities gather on projects to feed the hungry, support children, build and clean up the community, and so much more. The SOJA, which is our social justice group, responds to issues of social justice. And the wonderful Julius Van Hook, who I think is on this call, has been doing fabulous work as chaplain at the Martinez Detention Center. And he has generated grants to fund that work from the county and other sources. Ongoing retreats, presentations, book studies, and other efforts have been supported by I4C and offered by I4C to inspire us and to help us continue our growth, both personal and community. So what does the development group do to generate the funds to support all this? Well, first and foremost, a huge thank you to all of us in our communities. I had to say us because I represent one of the communities, and it's all of us. And we support I4C financially with ongoing donations and with a myriad of volunteers who are all responsible for carrying on this work. We also research and apply for grants that can support us. And this process has the double benefit of generating funds and making our work known to a wider group. That's what it's all about: communication, growth, sharing. As you know, we've also been the recipients of matching grants, which have already generated $20,000. And we currently have another $20,000 matching grant, which is eligible for all general donations to I4C since July 1st. Summer is the slowest time for donations because of vacations, etc. So if you or your community plan to make a donation, now would be an excellent time to do so, to double your impact. By the way, the first matching grant came about because I asked a member of my community if they would be willing to do a matching grant, and they said yes. That's where the first 10,000 came from. And now we have another 20,000 that we've kind of asked for. And so what a great way to turn $30,000 of donations into 60,000. So I encourage you to think about whether you or somebody in your community may be an angel who also wants to offer a matching gift, or if you can think of some organization that might be interested in doing that. Now, the most fun way to raise fundraise is at an event. And as you know, we have a wonderful dinner event scheduled for November 6th. The title is Building Beloved Community Through Compassion and Care. Do you notice a theme here? We're talking about beloved community in our wonderful retreat coming up, and building beloved community through compassion and care at our interfaith community dinner and program. There's going to be great food, great music, a great speaker, and great auction items. Tickets are $125 each, and $100 of that is tax deductible. Now, you'll notice in some places it says that the tickets are $150, but they're $125. But if you want to pay $150, that is okay. So that would be acceptable. We're also asking communities to provide a basket of items for raffle or silent auction. And we would also like larger items for a silent auction. And that could include trips, cabins, beautiful ceramics or art items, dinner and or theater packages, etc. Already we have a contribution of a stay in Lake Tahoe and a case of wine. And this is a great opportunity to invite community members or someone from another community who you wish to introduce to I4C. Now, one of the things that I love about I4C is the fact that, yes, we are, asking for funds, but the result and the reason why we're asking for them is so obviously paramount to having a blessed and beloved community. All of the good things that we do, both in communications, in helping people to grow closer, to really see people eye to eye, as Father Tom said, are all supported, of course, by I4C. And that's why we continue to ask you to be generous, and we continue to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And if anybody is interested in serving on this community, we're always willing to accept ideas or information or help. So thank you again.
Christine, can we ask Diane to share a little bit about how folks can help with the dinner?
Yes, thank you.
Well, we're hoping that you will invite your friends from your community faith to come and join all of us. I'm so excited about having and maybe getting enough people to have a table to which we can have special acknowledgements if we all have a table to support. But in going through the questions that are here or the notes here, I am so excited. We do have a wonderful group coming to perform for us. It's the Oakland Interfaith Choir. But if you have any other community musicians, singer, dancers, or group that you'd like to feature, please let me know. We will need a team that could set up tables and decorations. We could use a team to volunteer to help with maybe a kids area. And the main thing I would like to see is each faith bring a basket for the auction. A beautiful basket, maybe representing your faith, maybe a prayer rug, and or anything else. It could be just a basket of home goodies, a basket of wine. Each faith, each one of our 40 representatives bring one beautiful basket for the auction item. We could also use any trips, cabins, timeshares, beautiful ceramic or artwork, anything that you think would be helpful. Please contact me and or Christine, and we will help you get ideas or to put that together. Mainly it's just a chance to share our faith with others and to support what we do here in the Contra Costa community and with the interfaith that we have and share. I think it could be a wonderful experience, and at the same time have fun raising funds. Does anyone have any questions? Is there anything else? Yes, Sharon?
I was just wondering if with the new date and location, is the number of attendees able to be increased?
That's the hope. There was so much scare from the COVID and the venue was maybe not as conducive to being outside. But this venue will be earlier in the day. This venue is at a beautiful place that we can hold the event outdoors if we need to, and we can all follow the protocols if necessary. And it's earlier in the day. I think it'll be fun, like a Sunday or early Sunday dinner with everyone, and
that's great. I just meant before it was limited to, I think, a certain number of attendees. And I'm just wondering if the new date and location allows for a larger attending group, because it seems small, 100 and something people it was limited to, I think, seemed kind of small to hope to get a lot of people in there to fundraise.
Well, if we have that problem, we can deal with it. I don't think we have to worry about the size now.
Okay.
That would be a wonderful blessing to have, a problem to have. Terry?
Okay.
Hi, thank you for creating this opportunity for fundraising. And I just wanted to suggest to connect a dot here that by taking that slide that describes what your needs are and sending it to EC members, that they can take it back to their communities and maybe include it in their newsletters or in their announcements or something like that. Because I think that it's a great opportunity for us to participate actively in support of I4C. And the way we do that at the EC is as ambassadors of the EC to our faith communities. And this is a very concrete way to do that and show our support.
Absolutely. Thank you, Terry. We will do that.
Thank you.
I think the fun thing would be if we just all have a basket too from every one of our congregations. I would just love to see the variety and the beauty of that, as well as bringing our friends. Any other questions? We will be sure to get that out to you so you can make it easier for you to.
I'll send it by email, but it's also in the chat room as a JPEG, and the new flyer or the new PDF for the event is also on there. Registration is through our Donor Perfect, and so please follow that link that you see there, and that should get you to our in-house secure online giving form. And you can actually choose the fish or vegetarian meal for each of the people. So if you are trying to register for 4 to 10 people, there's different ways to do that on the sheet that makes it easy. And if you know what they want as you're registering, you can even put their name in and which dish they're asking for. So it's pretty set up for everyone.
And Will, are you ready to go ahead with our dialogue for the day?
If you're done, do you have any other?
One other thing, could I make just a quick pitch for the next iCare project? In September, it's September 17th, we have an iCare project planned at Bay Area Rescue Mission in West County. And Reverend Dale Weatherspoon, I think, has been offering to help us find congregations that would like to participate in that. But welcome any congregation or organization that would like to participate. Central County, West County, South County. I think this is a great organization where we'll be preparing a meal and painting an outdoor fence. So please let me know if you have any interest in that.
Thanks for all of our reports. And another reminder that each month we have one of our committees give a report, but all of the other reports from iChange and iCare and my executive director report and our development report and even SOJA are in the written portions of the agenda, and we give it to you in writing so that you can share it with your congregations. And what was copied in there from the iCare is right from the last iCare e-blast. So we really encourage you to.
Well, I wanted to ask Dave a question.
Oh,
on the sign up form, it says $100 for the paint, and that's the Interfaith Council is providing the paint. That's $100. You're not asking each person that signs up to provide $100 worth of paint.
No, I think that's $100 total for the project. Normally, the two or more faith communities that participate in this project would just fundraise for that. But if that's problematic, we can support that. Okay. We don't want that to be a barrier at all for participation.
Oh, no problem. I had somebody that was going to volunteer to sign up, and they said, "Oh no, I can't afford $100." I said, "No, it's not for you. That's the cost of the project." So I just wanted to clarify. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Great question. Yeah, when there's costs involved in iCare projects, it's for the whole project usually, unless it will say that they're trying to raise it from the volunteers. But the Sign Up Genius is really our genius and way to find out what's going on, and those links are in your agenda as well. So we really do encourage you to take a look at the whole agenda to see all of the upcoming events that are going on that we don't have time to share everything about, because we want to be able to carve out as much time as possible for these dialogues. And our dialogue today is, how are we bringing about the beloved community within our congregations, I4C, and our personal lives? And this can be some of the anti-racism work that you're doing, some of the anti-poverty work that you're doing. It can be volunteering, like working through iCare, but it can also be all of the other ways that you are going about your work in the world as a person of faith to bring that about. So we're going to open some breakout rooms here, and we invite you to hit the join button. There'll just be 3 to 4 folks in, and we should have a good 30 minutes of dialogue about this. And any other points of order before we jump into the dialogue? Terry Moss said, I'd suggest expanding our understanding of beloved community to include all of Contra Costa County, as our activities in the broader community foster understanding and love, an antidote to hate mongering and fear of the other that often prevails. And I'll just let you know that our Interfaith Council is working with the other Bay Area Interfaith Councils on putting together public service announcements addressing anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and AAPI hate, with the $10,000 that we received from the URI award at the Stanford conference years ago. And we're finally moving forward on this with a videographer from Novato that's also a part of the faith community and is really putting a lot of this together. So know that we're thinking about this on a very large scale, a whole Bay Area scale, but as well as our county scale today. So as much as we can jump into this conversation, let's do so. Folks will trickle back over the next few seconds.
Well, was there a change in the schedule? Because I thought the discussion went to 9:40.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I brought us back a little bit, but we had at least 30 minutes for this, and it'll give us a little bit more time for the recording and a little more time to hear from you about the Pope's trip to Canada.
Okay.
Folks are trickling back in as we speak. Did you not have enough time, Father Tom?
I think my particular group could have used more time.
Well, let's do some report back and then share a little bit more as a larger group, since it's a little smaller today, and that'll give us time to really hear each other as the larger group too.
I think this might be everyone.
All right. Then let's open it up. Dave, are you taking minutes?
Yes.
Our group, Kate, not only is it her first time, she's going to be our reporter from our little group of Kate, myself, Dave, and Nosley. And so if you can just put that little group together. I don't have the numbers anymore, but Why don't you go ahead, Kate, and then we'll just open it up to a larger conversation with the time that we have.
I think we were group one, so that makes sense.
All right.
So my name is Kate Lone Newkirk. I'm a member of the Degano Band of Missionized Indians down in Southern California. And so, and I'm a member of MDUC. So we were talking, so we got a little sidetracked, but a very important conversation about Indigenous peoples in California mostly, and not just doing land acknowledgements, but also other ways that we can, you know, I don't want to say help, right? So, but help their efforts, right? Because indigeneity is under big threat right now, all the way up to the Supreme Court, so the sovereignty. So we talked a lot about that and what our different congregations are doing as far as multiculturalism. And I brought up this book that we're doing as a common read with the UUs, which is called Mistakes and Miracles. It's actually a 3-year-old book, but it's our common read this year. And it does come from a UU perspective. However, and it's congregations on the road to multiculturalism, right? So it studies in depth 3 or 4 UU congregations and mistakes and miracles, right? And even some starting back in the 60s, really going back in the history. But the way that it's multi-faith and interfaith is that each chapter kind of ends with some discussion questions, which says, you know, how is your congregation doing, right? What common threads do you see with your congregation? What could you work on as far as multiculturalism, if that is an emphasis for your congregation to be a more true beloved community, right? That's both multicultural and anti-racist. So, so this is a really good read, and I'm Reverend Will asked me to put it in the comments, so I will. I'll put the authors and so on. One of them, they're both California natives, actually. One of them is Nancy Palmer Jones, who's from San Jose, and she's a reverend. Karen Lynn is a lay person who used to live in the Bay Area, in fact. And she moved to Cambridge to be part of that UU organization because they were really doing this work in earnest. So, so we talked about that being part of beloved community is embracing multiculturalism within our congregations and anti-racism. Did I miss anything, group? I think that's about it. I mean, each one reported on their own congregation as well. Yeah.
Dave, did you want to share a little bit?
Yeah, I think we talked about the idea that the beloved community congregations and organizations may have thought about the beloved community as being created within their own faith tradition. And I think we have this perspective that it's broader than that. It's bringing us all together. Reverend Will offered up this idea that we're not going to become an amalgamation of religions. Instead, we can think of it more like a salad analogy. So, you want really strong flavor from the cucumbers, and you want a really nice tart flavor from the salad dressing, and then you got the lettuce, the base. So you kind of need all the parts of a salad to make it work. It's not an amalgamation. It's the variety that makes it beautiful. So I thought that was a really nice analogy.
And we mentioned a bit about the renaming of schools and even Ignacio Valley changing its name to the Wolves rather than the Warriors and things like that. I lifted this up, this Honor Our Treaties. This is one of the patches that I got when I was on line 3 in Minnesota last October. And that's a lot of the work that a lot of Middle American nations, the Red Lake Nation and White Earth Nation, are still being affected by Enbridge's push through really without permission from the tribes. And these treaty rights go back to 1855, 1865, 1863, where the rights and responsibilities of the tribes to protect the area and to be able to farm and fish and hunt on those lands in between farms are protected rights. And as part of the Constitution, they're part of that's a part of our base constitutional legal framework, but a lot of those rights are being upended by courts and even corporations as they're pushing through. And some of the ways that those pipelines were put in are still having effect on wildlife and people's ability to hunt and fish in those areas because of they've broken through aquifers that are continuing to just spread the chemicals that are used in the drilling process and in the pipeline itself, still being polluted as they put in line 3 in a lot of those other areas. So if we actually honored our treaties, we wouldn't be we wouldn't be putting a lot of those people at risk. Room 2 was Dennis Wasco, Ginny Ali, Reverend Alexandria Spearman, and Terry Moss. Who's your reporter? Ginny, please go. Unmute yourself, please. Does that help? We can't hear you, Ginny. Are you unmuted? It should be in a dialog box on your screen, Ginny, because I hit the ask to unmute button for you. Tried to make it easier there for you. It's not working yet.
If you're on a computer, you might be able to unmute just by holding down the space key.
Yeah, can you hold down the space key? Does that work?
I had my mouse upside down.
No worries.
Oh dear, I had too much stuff in front of me. Yes, we talked about what we do as individuals and what our communities do, and what we do in interfaith. So we each had, a very nice long conversation about everything that's going on. We included meditation and prayer and set ourselves up for the day, as individuals to go forward with our work. And then as we talked at the things that we do in our communities, faith, and we have Temple Isaiah represented with Terry and Reverend Alexandria Spearman with social justice, working with ministries in going to Mexico to volunteer with Spanish-speaking communities. And Terry Moss with Temple Isaiah has a wonderful values and action program for advocacy, education, direct outreach. They also do lobbying for climate change, postcards for voting rights in different states where that's an issue. Also, abortion rights. We talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion in our programs. And we've actually been invited to do postcards at Temple Isaiah on Mondays from 4:30 to 6 to help spread this word about voting rights. And there are monthly newsletters with Temple Isaiah giving direct services for food drives, refugee assistance, Afghanis and Ukrainians, winter nights. Then we had Dennis Wasco with St. Bonaventure in Concord and Clayton, who works with St. Vincent de Paul. They do life coaching, helping people with budgeting, childcare. They work with the Sheriff's Detention Center in Martinez and also do Sunday visits there. There's a group called Just Faith that has a 6-week program on inclusion. Also, they have prayer study groups
and daily services on Zoom. And the Baha'i Faith, we're on our 9-year plan right now. And we had a conference at the Concord Senior Center where all faiths were invited. We believe Earth is one country and mankind its citizens. So we always have in our teachings that we're all one and we should all work together. We should have unity in diversity. So we totally believe in cultural unity of, whatever faith or culture or race we're talking about. Everyone has a right to their own independent search for truth. And this is what we foster in our devotionals and our children's classes and in our study circles. Or we have 14 Ruhi Institute books, which teaches about the faith. And we're constantly having study circles, even during COVID on Zoom. So we invite everyone to join these. I personally have a devotional every Tuesday from 2 to 4 at my house. We have had like 8 people, and I think there was 8 different cultures there. And it was very diverse, and everyone brought, their own prayers and authors and philosophers, and were able to share their spiritual feelings. It was on true happiness. And I think, did I get everybody?
I think that is. Thanks, Ginny.
Okay.
We've got 3 more rooms. Room 3 is Ben Jones, Carolyn Peters, Nancy Batty, and Reverend Sharon Campton.
Okay, I'm the secretary for that 3rd group. And Nancy mentioned that in her Christian Science church in Pleasant Hill, it was originally a small church, but they grew, opened up the shades, opened up the windows, and expanded their interest to the larger community, and they've been growing. And it's been a delight for her to see. They've been involved in more community outreach programs in recent times, and their church community is growing. Sharon, and I didn't get which church you belong to, Sharon, I apologize, but your church is addressed. Excuse me, their church extends itself out to a large shelter in place, ministries for counseling, post-COVID involvement, and larger diverse community in very many ways. And Ben, while he's involved in the Baha'i faith, he's been more concerned focusing on the involvement that he's had with his own counseling clients. And so he hasn't been able to reach out in his church community, but certainly with those people who have come to him for counseling during this period. And for myself, I'm with Christ the King, and we had a very strong outreach with our St. Vincent de Paul Society. It was really quite phenomenal when I think about it. But there are other places that we've kind of shrunk, and that's due to membership. We've had online ministry services for our worship, and that's been a very big help. But we need to get back to where we were in some way. It'll be different, but we're working towards that. And I mentioned too that there's a shifting pattern in community. How do we address that? It's not just within our church communities, it's general with different organizations that were once social, things like roller skating rinks, neighborhood theaters, all of that's shifting. How do we reach out to this changing community that's a larger society? And some, Ben mentioned, there's a constant need to connect with others, and our young people do that. It's not all good with this social connecting, but there is still that need. And he mentioned that there's an interconnection with some co-housing with which is great to connect the generations, the old with the young. And maybe that's some attempt to bridge this fragile state the community is in a general way. So those were some of our thoughts.
Thank you.
If I limited anything, add to it.
You can always email me at interfaithccc@gmail to add anything from all of your groups for our minutes. Room 4 is Reverend Dale Weatherspoon, Reverend Dr. Dale Weatherspoon, Diane Maltester, Dr. Erica Baines, and Father Tom Bonacci.
We started with Erica on a personal level. She's like her main love is food insecurity, and she's working with the area in Richmond, and she's Sikh, and she's encouraging and engaging other faiths, and they really worked on that too, and it actually included Dr. Weatherspoon and his at Easter Hills to help with serving the Richmond School District. I believe that's her. You can correct me, Erica, but that was for food for thought and is on the local level. On the international level, Erica promotes a Standing Straight program. Her husband is a surgeon, and they do help correct spines all over the world for people. But she loves her master gardening, and she discussed how she works with children and other organizations to maximize the space that which we grow our food and garden resources. Helps with planting in ways that help reduce evaporation and leaching of the water, which led us talking about the almond fields and how the almond fields and almond growers and the big businesses are trying to be efficient in their growing rather than thinking about the idea of maybe using the space between the trees and using that as a way of using growing other items that will keep the water and support the soil. And what was important is gardeners, of course, the almond growers want to be efficient, but this would maybe take more, resources like people to help work, and that would be hard that concept of efficiency versus supporting the earth. And that got into, just using the agricultural land as best and not to destroy it. And then the Sikh believe, she talked about, they have a prayer that includes nature, bees and insects, and Mother Earth, water, Mother Earth as the water is your life. And she feels that this is very important. And then Father Tom mentioned about how to create the beloved community is not so much how to create the beloved community, but how to recognize the beloved community. And he even mentioned, talking with Erica, about bees being part of our beloved community and how necessary nature is to our beloved community, not just about social justice. It's more than that. It constitutes what it is to be a human being. And so often in the past, politicals, we have been talked about to be in our own constitution, we are given rights rather than giving rights to others. But why aren't we looking at it as way as we are all human beings and part of the beloved community? And he felt it was very important to create an environment where it is safe for people to face what they really feel and how it takes time to delve into the underneath of people's prejudices. And we need an environment to bring forth our best, our beauty in ourselves as well. Dale got cut, so if Dale wants to add anything, I think that would be fine. When he was working in the South Bay, he was involved in the PACT, P-A-C-T. It's a faith in action, and met with law officers and the community, and to have a communication for each understanding each other's fears. Is there anything else? If anyone would like to add anything in our group, feel free to do so.
Yeah, just as we met, our beloved community group met, we had dialogues, and in each dialogue we had circles, and in the circles we had government officials, police officers, people from the community, young people would sit in a circle to hear one another, to share one another's lives, their fears, their hopes. And so we were trying to bring some humanity to the group. Wanted the group to understand, like police officers, the fears that they had, and wanted to make sure that they could go home safe every night. Wanted the community, the police officers, to hear from the community and the fears that the community had when they saw police cars pulling up, those type of things. And so that we could work together to be a safer and a stronger community. And at the end of each of those gatherings, there was usually a push on the politicians, asking the politicians a yes or no question, how they would commit to helping bring about the beloved community. And so when we left the gathering, we usually knew where the politicians stood, what they were going to commit to, or if they weren't going to commit to doing certain things to help our communities to be safer. And in some ways that helped us when it came time for elections to know what politicians were standing with us. But we had, I can't even remember the number of dialogues. It was well over 10 of coming together. And so each time being in that circle, you got to meet different people, and that formed stronger bonds in our community.
Thank you. And room 5 was Christine and Reza. Reza was
Susan.
Oh, and Susan.
Yes. Thank you, Reverend Will. It's a blessing and a grace to be here today. The main core of our group discussion kind of centered on what Father Tom brought us today. Religion, philosophy, etc., are not able to influence or affect us, but person to person are able to affect and make an actual experience. And so kind of record on this issue why we could focus on this issue to help the beloved community is if that loving or the beloved is kind of fulfilled me as an individual. And this is the core of the teachings of the MTO Shah Maksudi, the School of Islamic Sufism, is self-education to cognize individual invisible world and kind of cleans up what is extra. Then it kind of, the love is sitting within. That expansion is within the core of every one of us. It will reveal itself. And let's say, an individual has been elevated consciously. It's very easy kind of to observe when they interact with each other. And when that person is so lovely and elevated, the effect on the community is actual, is the reality. And in a sense, we focused on this issue. I know our centers teaches us like twice a week. We have a beloved teacher, and basically kind of focus on how we could expand. And kind of the other example we brought into the group was heated charcoals. That, when one charcoal gets heated up and flares, it slowly expands to all the charcoals. So if any individuals, every lovely ones is here, could be heated up and flares with the love, then that love becomes a beloved community. expands further and further. And as it was mentioned, through self-actualization, self-education, and, like that's where we are here today in this session, to communicate with each other, to educate with each other, to expand and develop ourselves. And, there are schools, there are congregations everywhere that we could reach and expand ourselves. Beyond that, everything else was kind of brought up as far as donation events, food banks, services, sustainability for the environment, cleaning up the environment for the beloved community, and whatever brought up by everybody today here for us. And
Wow. Thank you, Reza. And Reza, thank you for being there at the Sikh temple yesterday or Tuesday, with the presentation from Director Coleman from the Department from Homeland Security. That was a powerful presentation. We will hope to bring more of that back to our council at some point. Father Tom has our closing remarks and benediction.
I'll do a report on the Pope at the next meeting. Would that be okay, Will?
Sure.
Okay. That'll give it, maybe I could do it at the beginning of the meeting, have a little bit more time. So I'll conclude with a benediction now.
Okay, thank you.
Well, let's take a gentle, deep breath. Realize anew how sacred it is to be in the presence of one another. How wonderful it is to be in the nation called Earth, as we dance with the stars. Let us reflect for a moment on the moments and the seconds that we have passed through in this last hour. For the wisdom we have heard, we give thanks. For the challenges that inspire us, we give thanks. For the peace and the hope and the love we have encountered, we give thanks. For the respect and the joy we have felt with one another, we give thanks. For the presence of being in one another's hearts, we give thanks. In this meeting, we have become once more what we wish the world to be. Give us, Holy One of 1,000 names, the courage to continue to bless the world by being ourselves and coming together in the splendor of our hearts. May we realize that our coming together in this moment is not simply to develop some future program, but to enter into the depth and the beauty of what it is to be a fully alive human being in the here and now of life. Amen.
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 Amen. And
Oh,
amen.
beautiful.
Very
Thank you,
beautiful.
It was very beautiful. I loved it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Loved it.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Father Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. What a beautiful meeting.
Very beautiful meeting, and here's some reminders of resources and programs that are on our YouTube channels and upcoming events as we depart. Thanks so much for being a part of today, and the recording will be on there, so if anyone missed it, it'll be up on our YouTube channel in about an hour and a half.
Thank you. so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
everyone.
Blessings to everybody.
Bye.
And let me know if you're coming to the Interfaith Field Trip to the Livermore Hindu Temple this Sunday afternoon.
It's
I'd
gonna be
like
great.
to know how many of us are able to come.
Yeah, hopefully many of you can come. It's going to be great.
Looking forward to it. Be well, everyone.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Blessed be.
Will,